What if the turning point of World War II wasn't a battle fought with tanks and guns, but a silent war waged with minds and secret messages? Imagine a lone genius, armed only with intellect, cracking codes that altered the course of history and saved countless lives. This is the incredible tale of the Codebreaker, whose decoded messages weren't just intelligence. They were strategic weapons that turned the tide of a global conflict and reshaped our world forever. In the darkest days of World War II, as armies clashed across continents, another war was being fought in the shadows. This was a silent war of wits, where victory depended not on brute force, but on outsmarting the enemy. The stakes were astronomical. Every coded enemy message that went unread could mean a sunken ship, a lost battle, a city in ruins. The desire to break these codes wasn't just a strategic goal. It was a desperate race against time to save civilization itself. At the heart of this struggle was an extraordinary individual, a mind unlike any other, whose unique background and unconventional intelligence made them the world's last, best hope. They weren't a general or a soldier in the traditional sense, but their battlefield was the intricate web of enemy communications, and their mission was to find a weakness in a seemingly perfect system. But this was no easy task. The enemy's codes were a fortress, an impenetrable wall of ciphers and encryption that had stumped the greatest minds. These weren't simple puzzles. They were complex, constantly evolving systems designed to be unbreakable. For every attempt to crack them, the enemy seemed to be 2 steps ahead. The initial efforts were met with crushing failure. The Codebreakers and their small, dedicated team worked around the clock, fueled by caffeine and a sense of mounting dread. The pressure was immense. Each tick of the clock was a reminder of the lives hanging in the balance. The personal toll was severe, with sleepless nights blending into exhausting days, and skepticism from their own superiors adding to the weight on their shoulders. The wall seemed too high, the enemy too clever. It felt like they were trying to unlock a door with 1,000,000 wrong keys. Then, it happened. In a moment of sheer brilliance, a flash of insight that would change everything. Our genius, staring at the chaotic jumble of letters and numbers, saw something no one else had. It wasn't about brute forcing the code. It was about understanding the human element behind it. The predictable habits and tiny mistakes made by the operators sending the messages. This was the epiphany. The key wasn't just in the machine, but in the man. This radical new perspective led to a revolutionary plan. Instead of trying to crack the entire system at once, they would focus on these small recurring patterns. They developed innovative new methods, creating what were essentially the world's first computing machines, designed not for math, but for logic and probability. It was a gamble, pouring precious resources into an untested, unconventional theory. Then came the breakthrough. One tense night, after weeks of painstaking work, the machine whirred to life and began spitting out not gibberish, but coherent words. A short, seemingly mundane enemy message was suddenly clear. They had done it. They had found a crack in the wall. The unthinkable had been achieved. But breaking the code once was just the beginning. The conflict was far from over. Now began the grueling, high-stakes game of maintaining this advantage. The Codebreakers had to work in absolute secrecy, knowing that if the enemy ever discovered their breakthrough, the codes would be changed instantly, and their window of opportunity would slam shut. This meant living a life of constant tension and deception. The internal pressure was suffocating. Every day, they were intercepting messages that held the power of life and death, and the weight of that knowledge was a heavy burden. They faced profound ethical dilemmas. Sometimes they would learn of an impending attack on a target they couldn't warn without revealing their secret. They had to make impossible choices, sacrificing a few to save many. The information they were gathering was a torrent of strategic gold, troop movements, supply routes, battle plans. These decoded messages became the ultimate strategic weapon, allowing the Allies to anticipate the enemy's every move. It was an invisible power that was about to change the face of the war. The impact was immediate and dramatic. The battlefield was transformed. Suddenly, Allied commanders knew exactly where enemy submarines would be hunting, allowing them to reroute convoys and sink the predators that had been terrorizing the Atlantic. They could anticipate major offensives, setting up ambushes and turning planned enemy victories into devastating defeats. In one key battle, a decoded message revealed the enemy's entire naval strategy, leading to a decisive victory that shifted the balance of power in the Pacific. This wasn't just intelligence. It was like having the enemy's playbook. The tide of the war began to turn, not just because of bravery on the front lines, but because of the intellectual triumphs happening in secret, far from the fighting. This silent war, fought by unseen heroes hunched over desks and machines, was altering the course of history, one decoded message at a time. They were the ghosts in the machine, whose sacrifices and dedication saved countless lives and shortened the war by years. When the war finally ended, the world celebrated the soldiers and generals, the pilots and sailors. But the Codebreakers and their monumental achievements remained shrouded in secrecy for decades. Their legacy was a silent one. The groundbreaking work of these pioneers laid the foundation for the modern digital age. The machines they built to break codes were the direct ancestors of the computers we use every day. Their struggle against encryption was the birth of modern cybersecurity and the ongoing battle between information and secrecy. The silent war of wits they fought has evolved, but it has never ended. It makes you wonder, in our hyper-connected world, who are the code breakers of today? What invisible wars are being fought right now with data and information? So next time you think about the heroes of history, remember the unseen ones, the masterminds who proved that sometimes the most powerful weapon in the world isn't a bomb, but the quiet, relentless power of the human intellect. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey into the past. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more untold stories that shaped our world. We'll see you in the next one.